You have just stepped into a crust-free zone with Dr. Pat Baccili. What is crust? Well, crust is that stuff that stands between you and what you want out of life. Crust is what keeps you stuck. Crust is anything you think, feel, or believe that prevents you from living your deepest heart's desire. So get ready to do some serious crust busting with Dr. Pat Baccili and break through those layers of crusty conditioning to reveal the unlimited possibilities available to you to live your life full out. Dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail.
Hey everyone, happy birthday to me today. Well, it's more than my birthday. We are celebrating the end of our 14th year as we roll right in to 2018 as our 15th year begins. But before we get all excited about that, we want to take you down a stroll down memory lane. So today, we thought we'd bring in some clips of shows we've done back in 2003 all the way through 2008 and 2009. So consider this Crust Busting and Dr. Pat Part 1. Some of it's fun. Some of them are longer interviews with people like Shirley MacLaine, Juice Newton, but they're also answers to the one question that I started to ask years ago. What are some of the challenges and obstacles that you've overcome to bring you to this very moment? So sit back and enjoy. We're just going to kick it up and have some fun.
Welcome to the show. Aloha, Dr. Dyer.
Thank you. It's nice to be with you.
Wow. You know, there's a question that I ask each and every one of my guests, and it kind of goes like this. Here you and I are sitting and on the verge of having an amazing conversation and living in the slide and glide of life. And to some, it may seem that things are just a cakewalk and always have been. Has that been the case for you? What are some of the obstacles that you have had to overcome to get to this very moment right here?
I've never had any. Everything's been slide and glide.
There
it's
you go.
Perfect. I was born with a silver foot in my mouth or whatever. No, I always like to think about St. Francis, who I wrote a book based upon his prayer a few years back, and I spent a lot of time in Assisi, and one of his famous observations was, he said, "I have been all things unholy. If God can work through me, he can work through anyone."
Amen to that.
And that was back in the 13th century. And when I think about obstacles, I mean, as I look back, I've had the same kinds of struggles in my life that most people have had. The first 10 years of my life I spent in a series of foster homes and orphanages and so on until my mom was able to reunite her family. My father just walked out on his family when I was just a baby. And he was a man I never saw, never had anything to do with. I had a lot of feelings of anger and resentment and hatred toward him until I was able to go to his grave in 1974 and forgive him. And it was right after I did that everything in my life just turned around. But I've had the same kinds of things. I think the greater the teaching and the greater the teacher, the greater the challenges that you have. I've been through the struggles of addictions in my life, and worked on those in many, many different areas. I'm celebrating 20 years without having a soda pop. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but I used to drink 8 to 10 of those things every day. and alcohol and drugs and things like that are all part of things that I experimented with and tried along the way. I've been through divorce, and I've been through the heartbreak of one of my children having a very, very serious accident and struggling in those ways. I've had 8 children, so there's 8 obstacles right there. I always think about the greatest spiritual teachers who ever walked among us, like Jesus and Buddha, and we always quote them, but they never, they weren't married and having children, and so all of the challenges that go with that have been a part of my life.
Well, yeah, it's so true about what we, how strong we can really be in seeing those things. It's funny.
But I never look at them as obstacles. I mean, when you ask the question, and I facetiously said I've never had any. The truth is that when you're an orphan and you wake up every day when you're 6 years old, you don't go around pouting and crying and saying, why am I an orphan? Why me? And so on. You just get up and you deal with what life hands you. Virginia Woolf had a great observation once. She said that arrange whatever pieces come your way. That's the height of enlightenment. Just whatever pieces come your way, just arrange them and make it work for you. It's only when you turn 40 and you look back on your life and you want to explain why you're an alcoholic today and why you're divorced and why you're broke and why things aren't working. Then you look back into your past and come up with all of the excuses. You know, I was an orphan. My mother liked my sister better. We had to live here. We didn't do that. I was the wrong color. I was the wrong height. Whatever it might be. And those all become excuses that we use for the choices that we've made in our life, in my estimation.
Well, there is a question that I ask each and every one of my guests that I have on the show, because my show is about uplifting and inspiring messages and messages that enable people to live their lives full out. And sometimes I have been accused of making it seem so easy. And so I have this question, and it goes something like this. Here we are living life outrageously, living our dream, bringing our messages to the world. And my question is this. Sometimes we make it look so easy. What sort of obstacles have you had to overcome to be doing what you're doing in this very moment?
Well, when you say that, I think of the original obstacle for a lot of women. It's still true, but less so, I think. And that was that we were told that our position in life was natural, that it was due to biology or God or Freud, and it just couldn't be changed. And that's the most difficult, because then you are taught to feel that the source of your problem is within yourself, that it's immutable, and there's just no chance of moving. And I think what got us out of that really was just listening to each other, sitting down and in small groups and hearing a woman say something that we thought we alone were feeling, and realizing that if unique people, and we are each of us unique, were experiencing the same problem, it was probably political and it could be changed.
What are some of the obstacles, the challenges that you've personally had to overcome to bring you to this very moment?
Well, as you said, crust busting in this case, I had to overcome the former beliefs that I was shocked by the new beliefs that I acquired through my work on cells, and so that it was interesting. I used to give lectures and tell people about the new science, and I would tell them all in these lectures that right after I understood it, I would say, if you know and understand the meaning of what I'm talking about here, you can create this most wonderful life. And then they would cock their heads and look at me, and they'd say, Lipton, your life doesn't look that great. And that was the biggest obstacle when I realized myself that I had all of this awareness, and my life was still exactly the same. And that was that led me on to the reality is that, oh my goodness, I had to recognize we had two minds working on this, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And my conscious mind was now aware of all the new biology and the new science about how I control my life. And yet my subconscious mind was responding like a jukebox, push the button, play the tape, push the button, play the tape, to the old tapes. And so what was real interesting is despite all the awareness I acquired, my life was still exactly the same as it was.
And go slowly, let me love you till the last.
Oh, yes, indeed. I am telling you, I cannot keep my composure. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the Dr. Pat Show. This is Talk Radio to Thrive By. And boy, I'm glad I got my tissues out. I am thrilled that you all are joining us. And I love even that song. I mean, even the lyrics in that song. Juice Newton singing that song. She's joining us here today. And in a minute, you're going to hear my favorite song, The Sweetest Thing. But right now, we've got Juice Newton. And, of course, Brenda, you're joining us as well. Juice, I'm telling you, you probably heard your own music a million times. But I have to tell you, for me, every time I hear that song or hear your voice, I just get chills just up and down. Thank you so much for joining us today, both of you. I mean, here the three of us are, and of course we're honoring Otha, who's not with us, and the song that he's written. And I said to you during the break, there is a time right now where all of us could use a little infusion, if not a lot, of love. And Correct. This song is something that we are going to ask people to listen to and then forward it to 10 other people. You can get the song on iTunes. You can get it many, many places. Yes. And the reason being is that it's such a powerful message about love. And I want to ask each of you, what does this song mean to you personally?
Well, Brenda, you go first.
I love that. That's good.
I was a fan of Juice's long before I met Otha, and of course everyone knew this song, and I loved it, and I had seen Juice perform this song on TV, and the guitar solo, the camera was on Otha, and I saw Otha, and there was something about him, and I said, just a subconscious thought, oh dear Lord, to have a man like that in my life, not even, like I'm going to stalk this person or anything like that, but there was such warmth, genuine warmth, and as I got to know Otha and have a life with him, that song came from a place of warmth, and it just reflected what he has in his heart, I think, for all people. He always, chose to see the good in everybody. So when I hear that song, it has so many emotions from, first recognizing him and remembering that glimmer when I met him on TV, or saw him on TV, and then met him a couple years later and everything. And then the song, as I said, I was a fan of theirs before I ever met them. And it just has such positive memories. And then the love that comes from other people commenting on that song and wanting to hear about that song, I think is very touching. So, like you, Pat, I can listen. I went to so many of their concerts and never, ever, ever got tired of hearing them and seeing them perform.
Well, one of the things that I am so struck by is how perfect this song is for Juice Newton, and how perfect Juice Newton is for The Sweetest Thing.
Absolutely.
And Juice, we're talking, about you as if you're not here, but you really are here. And I can't even imagine another person singing this song. And I don't know if that's weird in the music industry, but for me, it's like you were born to sing The Sweetest Thing. How do you feel about that?
Well, it is definitely a song that each time I do get to sing it, has all those great feelings that people, I think, long for. They long to have that deep emotional contact and relationship. And whether or not it's with your kids or your husband or your wife or with your friends, it's necessary, I think, to have those positive, deep felt feelings in order to be a true, caring human being. And to give that, it's a gift, and I am so appreciative that I got the gift of that song, that Otha wrote that song, and that I can share that song, even though he physically isn't here. He is present with McKenna and Brenda and myself and my own kids and our friends over and over every time we do a song that Otha wrote. And that song especially touches so many people. It has such a universal outreach, actually, that it's an honor to have the song in my heart and in my head.
There's a line in the song that I've always wanted to ask both of you about, and I've heard, I talked to my listeners about this line, by the way, and Juice, you would be blown away with how interesting people interpret this particular line, and I've never been afraid of losing, and I've never wanted love to be a chain.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And everybody says that means something different to them. I'm just curious, what was the meaning behind that particular part of the song, or should we just interpret it to what it means to each of us?
Well, I do think that Otha was stating a fact, actually, that many people can't voice. They want that love, they want that affection, and they want that ability and long for it. And so they see it as precisely what they're searching for, which is a love that comes both ways, but yet you're brave, and so you're brave enough to reach out and love a person with no limits. And I think that's really important because we struggle at times, and we may have someone in our life that none of us are perfect, and so if you can give the love, you're going to get something back, but yet you're not. It doesn't feel like you have to present your love in a specific manner, so you're not afraid of losing. You're brave enough to step through that door and love someone without having it come back to you in exactly the same way. Your love with no bounds or boundaries, and that way you're strong enough to do that. And I'm not. I mean, Otha's not here to discuss it, but that's how I personally interpret it, and I'm sure everyone has their own opinion of it. Mm-hmm. But if it's heartfelt and it has a true meaning to them, then Otha would be very pleased to know that his inspiration at that moment has such a far-reaching is so far-reaching for so many people.
I love it. And, we're going to listen to the song right now, Juice and Brenda. But before I do that, I want to make sure all of you know Juice Newton joining me here today. Her CDs, American Girl 2 and Gift of Christmas CDs, are available through CD Baby. But more importantly, I want you to know that if you want to find out more about Juice, go to her website, juicenewton.com. And let's listen to the song, my favorite song of all time, The Sweetest Thing, Juice Newton singing the song. Otha Young, the individual that wrote it. When we come back, we're going to have Otha's amazing daughter joining us, Juice Newton and Brenda. Here's the song. Listen to it, open up your heart, and take it all in.
When I see you in the morning, that old sleep still in your eyes, I remember all the laughter and the tears we shared last night. And as we lie here, just two shadows in the light before the dawn, the sweetest thing I've ever known is loving you. And I have never been afraid of losing, and I have never wanted love to be taken. I only know that when I'm with you, you're my sunshine, you're my rain, and the sweetest thing I've ever known is loving you. Now you and I, we're not children, and we have both been loved before. We have given and we have taken many rides on troubled shores, but all the heartaches and temptations only make me love you more. And the sweetest thing I've ever known is loving you. And I have never been afraid
to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Yes, indeed, everyone. I want to welcome you to the Dr. Pat Show. This is Talk Radio to Thrive By. Thank you all for tuning us in and turning us on right here on the show. We've got a great show for you today. Amazing. And that's our theme, Benny, just in case you're wondering, because of the month of May.
I'm always wondering.
It's like amazing. Did you get it?
I got it. I got it.
I'm your host, Dr. Pat, joined by Mr. Benny Mathers, my amazing producer. And guess who's joining us here today?
Ooh, I can only hope who it is.
I can only think of one word for it. Amazing.
Right.
Shirley MacLaine is going to be on the line here in a few minutes, and we're thrilled to have her here. So I get this chill some days, and I do like today. I'm getting to talk to Shirley MacLaine and then followed up with Gary Zukav. And I was sitting yesterday and I was thinking about what the most important thing might be for me. You know, what is most important for me in my life? And I came to this very interesting place where I realized that being in a place of gratitude is so profoundly amazing. And I thought, is that the place? Is that the place to be? If you're in a place of gratitude, can other things coexist? So I had a really interesting day yesterday, and I'm reading Shirley's book, of course, and just taking a look at some of the things we're doing here, the launching of the Transformation Network. That official announcement will be out next week, and you all will now be able to participate in a dream that has been mine for a really long time. And that is to create a landing place where people can come together, whether it's for articles, whether it's for conversation, or whether it's for Transformation Talk Radio, which we're launching as well. But the question then, comes up. How do we know what we're meant to do in this lifetime? How do we know when we get tapped on the shoulder or we hear a voice, what that's about? How do we know that we're being asked or we're being called or we're being pulled? That is the most frequently asked question of all of you on all the stations we're on. The 14 hours of live radio I do this week, this is the question that you all ask most. You ask the question, what is my purpose? How do I find it? How do I get unstuck? And these questions are so profound in their own right, because each of you is amazing in your own right. And I said that the month of May is, our theme is amazing. Get it? Amazing. That's our theme. But part of this is your participation, because all of you are amazing. And we're here to remind you of that. But the question then becomes, what are you amazed at in your lives? And so today, I get to have a conversation with Shirley MacLaine. I never thought in my wildest dreams that would ever happen, even though that was like on my top 10 things to do. And so the message that I want to leave with all of you while we're bringing Shirley on is this. Don't give up on your dream. Don't let folks tell you can't do something. And remember, it gets better as you get better. Shirley MacLaine is joining us here today. We are thrilled, jazzed, amazed. Shirley, welcome to the Dr. Pat Show.
Hey, Dr. Pat, thank you very much for having me. I'm amazed.
Did you get the little play on words that were like in the month of May, and it's like amazing?
And also the maze of life.
The maze of life. Oh, my goodness. Now, I think we've had a little experience with that. I want to ask you a question, Shirley. And first of all, let me just say thank you so much for coming to Seattle. We are so looking forward to that event.
Yeah, good. Thank you. I'll tell you a little bit about it if you want to know.
I want to know. But here's a question I've got for you. Given everything that you've done and all that you are, and I just spent 10 minutes talking about you, ears must be ringing. What are some of the challenges, what are some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome to bring you to this very moment?
Well, let's see. I've been kind of a functioning on earth plane mystic most of my life. I mean, I've been interested in all these so-called otherworldly things all my life. Then when I became an adult and traveled around the world and saw that this was the country basically of left-brained materialism, and the rest of the world, particularly the Orient, is much more conversant with these other, let's say, esoteric subjects, which are now becoming more and more necessary to acquaint ourselves with. So I guess what it was for me, although I wasn't afraid of it, it did take some courage to come out and talk about extraterrestrials and reincarnation and the idea of the soul's journey through time and what we've been doing that's left us so completely discombobulated, because I was into this a very long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole idea of what to be amazed at right now is how we're going to get out of this.
It's really incredible how we get these messages. I got this idea that, I'm writing a book and it's called Unstuckable. And somebody said to me the other day, what the heck is that word? That word is not even in the dictionary. I said, I don't know. I woke up one day and I felt like that's the way I wanted to be. So I want to ask you about this. I mean, you're coming to Seattle. We're talking about life balance. How do we stay open-minded? Because one of the things you talk about is if we stay open-minded, the truth will emerge. Are we ready for the truth?
Yeah, let me just talk a little bit about what we really have to address ourselves to, Pat, because it's important.
Yeah.
This coming alignment of 2012 is not a Hollywood science fiction joke. This is real. Now, we've got the energy that's co-aligning for the first time in 26,000 years. Now, that's a great big deal. This hasn't happened to us on Earth for 26,000 years. Now, that carries with it. The truth of the matter is that we are going to be directly aligned with the center of the galaxy. The other big truth of the matter is that alignment carries with it a gravitational pull. That's what we're seeing with the weather. That's what all this kind of, what is this disruption all about? Now, we've got to adjust to this alignment with our consciousness too, because we are conscious beings, hopefully, and what the consciousness and the mind is really is an electromagnetic piece of equipment, and so our magnetics are getting more aligned, but we're not used to the alignment, and that's why we're having such trouble. That's what I'm going to talk about on June 13th, and how to get around it, how to look at it. You don't have to be a scientist to understand this, but to look at it from the point of view of this is kind of an anomaly, or that hasn't happened for a very, very long time. And I think after this alignment, we'll start to see what the Bible and many other ancient texts talk about, the 1,000 years of peace and light. After the alignment occurs, we'll be in the space where we were 26,000 years ago when it began, and we'll start this karmic journey all over again.
This is really important conversation, Shirley. I'm so glad that you are talking about this when you come, because there are people in one school, and I'd love for you to address this, that are in this helpless, hopeless camp, so to speak. Mm-hmm. There are the other folks like me who come on here, and people call me the optimist of the decade, who just, sticks to this place of it's going to get better. But yet there's this whole middle ground that you bring. And that's...
Well, wait a minute. I don't know if it's middle ground, but I will say this. Come off all the accusations and the polarity and this is wacky and blah, blah. What we have to do in order to get us through what we're all going through, this really is a conglomeration of karmic drama, you might say. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to say next is going to happen, but I strongly feel it, and that is this. When this alignment occurs, all the karmic drama of our past 26,000 years and all the lifetimes of experience that have gone into our soul's journey will be nullified. I think when this alignment occurs, and the apex of it is December 21, 2012, but it's been a process, not an event. From 87 until another 20 years after 2012, we'll be in this process. And what we should do in our everyday lives, look at the people that we're having trouble with, that we're upset with, or who are upset with us, and try to get that alignment going to help nature when she comes around to 2012 and says, okay, annulment time, we are now going to nullify all the karmic drama and start anew.
In this,
Isn't that interesting?
I love it though. I really do love it because, for me, it really talks to some of the issues that I just shared before you came on with one of the most frequently asked question on this show, and I do 14 hours of live radio a week. The most interesting questions that I get asked or that my guests get asked are, I am in searching of my purpose. I am in search of who I am. I feel lost. I feel stuck. I need some help. And
right, but when you get into this alignment and understanding that it is a cosmological fact, I mean, it is an astronomical effect. And once you start that, you know that your purpose, you just got to then relax a little bit, Pat. Relax a little and let it happen and not be so upset with the fact that things are upsetting. I have a way of explaining this, which I'm going to do when I come. Once I understood that we're all living a comedy drama anyway. We're all the director, the producer, the star, the writer, even the distributor of our own reality. It's just like a movie. So we're in a creation movie. And I'm going to talk about how show business and movies are the same as life. So we have a first act, a second act, and a third act. We're into the third act. These things have to be resolved. Because we're into the third act, we know that we are, that gives you a sensibility of what you want to create with it.
Shirley, what are we afraid of? And I know you talk about, what we are really afraid of in your books. But I would love to ask you right now, today, and a lot of people sense what's coming. What are we afraid of, really?
I think we're afraid of the separation from God. And unless you have that alignment with the creative source, you can't feel safe. I'm not talking religion here. I'm talking high-level spirituality. We have been separated, or the feeling of being separated from God for a very, very long time. Now, the God is you. You are God. So don't be afraid of that anymore. Just recognize that's what you are. The way I do it, I go out in nature, just like you were explaining, and I look at the trees and the animals. They all know it.
They get it.
They live in a sense of a kind of abiding harmony. They understand it. They don't have to question it. So, I don't know, be more like the animals and the birds and the trees, I guess.
I'm telling you. I mean, I'm talking to them these days.
Hey, everybody, I hope you had fun just listening to the few of the folks that I've had the chance to have conversations with. Now, that question, challenge and obstacles. What if some of the leaders in the field of human potential, but, regular folks like me and you, what have they answered when asked about challenges in their lives? Here you go. Enjoy it.
Did you know that all of the shows on the Transformation Radio Network are available as podcasts to stream or download?
Really?
Check us out. Go to transformationradio.fm. We have business shows, spiritual shows, energy healing shows, and pretty much everything in between. Something for everyone, guaranteed to inspire, educate, and transform. We are transforming the world, one listener at a time.
Wow. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. This is Talk Radio to Thrive By. I'm telling you, I got to pinch myself some days because when each of us gets called to do something that we so not thought was in our wheelhouse to do for a purpose that's so much greater than us, we get to show up and shine.
If you would like to show up and shine on the Dr. Pat Show as a co-host or sponsor, send us an email to inspire@thedrpatshow.com.
Ram Dass has been an internationally renowned spiritual icon for over 30 years. And so let's listen to how he answered one of the questions that I'm known for, and that question has to do with overcoming challenges in one's life. All right, here we go. Now, there is this question that I do ask each and every one of the people I speak with. And it goes like this. Here we are, and, on the verge of embarking on an amazing conversation and an enjoyable day and being in the here and now. And so the question is, what are some of the challenges that you had to face to bring you to this very moment?
The challenge of the mind time binding. That is I travel in words out the past and the future. But
it must be God.
So my mind time binds, and that keeps me from being with the now. The next part of that, the melodramas of life, of they're seductive. And the roles in those melodramas, the roles, I have many, many roles, as so do you, and so does everybody. And they're so comfortable. And staying out of the roles so that you're fresh from this moment. The consciousness to inhabit this moment, it can't be in a prison cell of concept. So now each concept in your mind, and then I think the way to do it is the moment, the delve into the moment for seeking spirit. Delving into the moment, the moment has it involves many consciousness planes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because and the moment gets you into the planes which are not in time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize that the moment is not time. Mm-hmm. Minutes and hours are time, but the moment is.
It's a word that we've created, isn't it?
Yeah.
The word moment, for lack of any other visualization or conceptualization.
But by taking the moment and go directly into it is one of the best paths to God.
Hi, John. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Pat. Hey, Benny.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we love having you.
Good.
I wore my heart for you.
Good.
Your heart is on.
I got my heart.
Your heart
on for you.
It's
an amazing thing. And, tell me, there's a question actually, and let me ask it because I ask every one of my guests, and it came from one of my listeners, ages ago actually. And, because I'm always pretty happy. I'm kind of upbeat. I get on the air and I'm just living life and having a good old time. And, folks said, hey, wait a minute. Have you ever had any challenges? I mean, did you just pop out of your mom and just be all happy? Or have you had to overcome some stuff like us? And then I dedicated a show to that, actually 2 shows to that. And so the question that comes up is, here you are, you're touring the world, you're internationally known for the amazing gift that you bring. You're a best-selling author, you now have a brand new book out, you're going to be in the Seattle area. And the question that I have for you is, all of this, John, what are some of the challenges that you have had to overcome to bring you to this very moment?
Excellent question. Well, the first book, Pat, is Born Knowing, Accepting and Embracing My Spiritual Gifts. The challenge I had was accepting that I had this ability. And as a child, I'm one of 5 kids in an Irish, Italian, Catholic family, and in New England. So I was a little different. And it's just like I can say to some of the audience members who are listening, are you the different one in your family? Mm-hmm. And we're not necessarily different. We were just born extra aware. So one of the challenges was me accepting that I had this ability because of skeptics and being called names as a child. So my biggest challenge was actually getting up in front of people and actually doing it. And thank God that I did. But you know what? No matter how many times you have a challenge in front of you, you don't face it, it's going to come up again and again and again until you get the lesson. So I finally stepped up there and did it. So it's been going well. So the challenges have fallen away, and the more I do it, the more comfortable, because it's been going over 15 years now. So the biggest challenge, literally, was accepting this and taking on the role in doing a life of service.
I am talking with Mary Allen. Thank you, Mary. Thank you so much for joining the show today.
Well, Pat, I am so excited about being here, so thank you.
Well, let me ask you about this book. My show is called Crust Busting. Mm-hmm. Crust is what I have labeled all of these things, negative beliefs, emotions, thoughts that would stop people from living their dream. And so, we get these things. They come in, and, the key is how we deal with them. So the question that I ask everyone is, what are some of the obstacles? What are some of the challenges? What is some of the crust that you've personally had to deal with to bring you to this very moment?
Gosh, well, of course, it's been quite a journey. In starting in my own life, the obstacles, I think, started initially being just numb and just kind of going through life in kind of a TikTok kind of sort of way. And
oh, yeah, I get that.
You get that. It's like, you think life is just happening, and then there's that initial awakening point where you realize, wow, I can really start consciously directing the life. So that was one of the just early obstacles way back. And what's great, you talk about obstacles, and my book is really it's really primarily about 2 things. It's really about, number one, getting really clear about what you want, and then the rest of the book is about clearing out the crust. Mm-hmm. So it's like all the stuff that does get in our way. And in terms of obstacles for me, what's interesting is I was actually writing this book. It was like a real personal journey for myself, because what I found is each lesson I wrote, something would show up in my life that would give me a real-life example to actually have to deal with this topic at a deeper level. So the obstacles were, well, take each lesson as we went along, and I got to live it in full, brilliant color.
Mary, thank you so much for joining the show today.
I'm happy to be here, and thank you for asking.
Well, for those of you that are, listening, let me just direct you to the website really quickly. If you want to follow online with us, of course, you can go to friendsofmary.com. Mary, thank you. Thank you. I know you're very, very busy. You're doing wonderful, wonderful work, as you always have. I'm so thrilled that you're on the show today. Let's start off by talking about, there's actually a question that I ask each and every one of my guests, and it is a question that pretty much came from my listeners. And it goes like this. Here you are, you've traveled the world, you've written 2 best-selling books, you have a fabulous ministry, and the question that has come up more times than not is this question of life. We seem like we're in the slide and glide of things, and then the question comes up, well, haven't you ever had a bad day? Mm-hmm. Haven't you ever had any obstacles? So what are some of the obstacles? What are some of the challenges that you've had to face to bring you to this very moment?
Oh my gosh. I think that, specifically health challenges, relationship difficulties, financial issues, the very thing that is in the curriculum of human homework that every one of us gets as we grow through different layers of, and I love it that you use the word crust busting, because the next crust is just the edge of the unknown, and it's the place where I haven't yet discovered that I am more than the crust I see or more than the problem that I have. And specifically over the last several years, a number of things occurred, one of which the man that I love and adore and have been married to for over 10 years came over time. His depression grew into a complete collapse mentally. He spent a year in a psychiatric hospital, and I entered a new world of helping somebody walk through the field of mental illness. It wasn't something I would have chosen to go through consciously, but I've used what's happened in my life and as a part of the next level of what brings about that discovery inside each one of us that we have a greatness that's beyond the things we face. And, I wouldn't turn around and say I would not keep these gifts. And every person who's listening this morning, there are things that have happened in your life that at the time it came, whether it was a diagnosis or a divorce or a downsizing or something that you didn't want to bring into your life, time and time again, and you know it, and your friends will say the same thing, this cancer or this difficulty, this turned out to be one of the best things that ever happened to me. Because every single thing that happens in our lives comes within its hands, a gift for us if we're just willing to unwrap that gift.
My guest today is Dr. Charlene Proctor, and the book that she has written is Let Your Goddess Grow, 7 Spiritual Lessons on Female Power and Positive Thinking. And let me just tell you a little bit about Charlene, because I can only say a little bit about her in this time frame because she is doing so many things. The most important thing I think you should know is that you can find out all about who she is, what she's doing, how to get plugged in by going to www.thegoddessnetwork.net. She is an unbelievable speaker. And this book, Let Your Goddess Grow, climbed the charts to #1 on Amazon.com, and we are thrilled, Charlene, we are thrilled to have you on the show today. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
There's a question that I ask every one of my guests, and it came from my listeners, and it goes like this. Here you are with this amazing network you've created. You're touring across the country. As a matter of fact, I think you'll be coming to Seattle. Yep. Where I hang out in early February. Mm-hmm. And you've written this book, reaching the charts #1. Some people would think that this has been, the slide and glide for you. The question I want to ask you is, what are the challenges? What are some of the things that you, Charlene, you have personally had to overcome to bring you to this very moment?
Well, other than the obvious of having 2 kids and getting a PhD at the same time.
Yeah, believe me, I'm totally relating to that one.
Let me tell you, that is the biggest wake-up call to any woman going back to school when she has a family. Because the day I came back from my first day in PhD school at the University of Michigan, I tallied up, because I thought there had been a mistake. I had to write 17 papers in one semester, and I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to get through this?
Yeah, what did I sign up for?
Oh, yeah. But, like I said, other than the obvious, and the loneliness, actually, while dealing the confidence to achieve something like that. But obstacles, and I'm sure many people tell you that, are only there for our benefit, and I would not be the person I am today without my challenges. So I thank the universe for them before I go through my list. I would say that one of my biggest obstacles in building my opinion on life and helping others and doing the work that I do now, which I enjoy so very much, is to just learn how to value self. I did not recognize the divine element within myself, and I was never shown that idea when I grew up. I never learned how to embrace it at a very deep level, whether we call that the God or goddess or the spirit within. I never really felt valuable because I never really knew what that was. And to realize that we are an individual spark of divine power. That moment that we do that is the moment of recognition that we can step into a vision in whatever work we do, that we're filled with self-esteem and feelings of empowerment, and that we are our own self as a source of power to do whatever we want. And I think that another lesson for me, which was very interesting and challenging, was just to learn how to manifest my goodness in my life and to learn how to do that for myself. And I know some ways we say that's finances or career or whatever, but at some point we learn to put that aside and say the first lesson in manifestation, yes, is for the individual, but to really get the true blast of wonder from that, we need to do that for humanity and dedicate our lives, which is truly the most satisfying point that we can be in our lives. So those were some of my ideas about my obstacles, which I said I'm all grateful for.
It's really interesting. At some point in our lives, we get to that place where we look at our obstacles and our challenges, and, you know, it's almost like a surrender where we give up and we say, okay, you know, if I don't make you my friend, you all are going to just kill me.
This is true, and truthfully, we spend a lot of time, and I think as grown women, especially after we cross 40, that's so true, that we shed this crust that you talk about and all of these negative old mental programs. And it's funny, but I thought about this morning as I was driving to the office, and I thought we spend so much of our lives trying to hurry up and function in the regular world that we live in and manage all this complexity, and then we spend the second half of our life rediscovering who we really are. And I think that's why a lot of times we change careers and come to these big ahas and epiphanies after we turn 40, because we need to achieve this balance in our life, which is how we're living in the outside external world and doing, and who we are inside as being. And this balance between being and doing, I think, just sort of crops up on us unexpectedly until one day we have to set a process in motion that says, if I don't bring this idea or balance back into my life, I'm going to crumble and I can't function anymore. And that's kind of what happened to me when I decided to start the Goddess Network.
Hey everyone, this time of year I'm always reflecting on the past. And I think you heard me talk about how grateful I am for my life, for the people in it, for the team I get to work with every day, but mostly for all of you. I think that your unwavering support of the show, the message, everything we're doing here at Transformation Talk Radio has inspired all of us to be better and better and better at serving you. So, for me, for this team, to all of you, we wish you the best this holiday season ever, amazing holiday season, and get ready for a 2018 unlike anything you've ever seen, because we've got so much planned for all of you. Again, our hearts to your hearts. Thank you so much.
All the laughter and the tears we shared last night, and as we lie here, just two shadows in the light before the dawn, the sweetest thing I've ever known is loving you. And I have never been afraid of losing
Wow. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. This is Talk Radio to Thrive By. I'm telling you, I got to pinch myself some days, because when each of us gets called to do something that we so not thought was in our wheelhouse to do for a purpose that's so much greater than us, we get to show up and shine.
If you would like to show up and shine on the Dr. Pat Show as a co-host or sponsor, send us an email to inspire@thedrpatshow.com.